I don't know if you could see this picture here. And it is a gathering of people. It is Ho'oponopono is the Hawaiian practice of setting things right, correcting the course. There's many lessons out there. I myself was trained by Lynette and Likeke Paglinawan, who were trained by Aunty Mary Pukui, a kupuna who is long past and a writer of the Hawaiian dictionary. So I was privileged for that. But Ho'oponopono, in the short, says to make things right, to correct the wrong, to correct your course. You may have too many conflicting desires. Unify your different parts, hold counsel with yourself, and get back to being on track. But Ho'oponopono is talking about coming together as a family when there's pelikia, when there's heva, when there's trouble, when there's discord. And you're going to sit around. Everyone has to agree. And you're going to ask for forgiveness for those things that you did that were wrong in the situation. And then you are going to give forgiveness to those people who admit what their heva was, what their wrong, what their role in this problem resolution situation is. It is about it's correcting those things that you weren't clear about. It's taking like an onion peel, and maybe the problem is you got drunk and you said some things that was offensive to others, but the truth is what you said was true because nobody's acknowledging it. And on top of that, because Johnny said something about Mary and Mary told somebody else and now everybody's involved. It is the peeling of an onion because there's not just one problem. When you come together as a family, especially at times of death, when you have kaumaha, which is grief, when you are so saddened, there's all these levels of heva, all these levels of discord that you have to set right. Because sometimes somebody dies and before you know it, everybody's coming to the house to take what they want. But nobody's thinking about the persons, the wife, the children who are dealing with the grief. And that causes discord, that causes heva. And you need to set it right. You need to put it back together so that it's not so ugly. And of course, like I said before, earlier, once you have all given your forgiveness and accepted the responsibility for that part which was yours, and everyone is satisfied, sometimes there needs to be something tangible. There needs to be some kind of means of something you do. You don't say, yeah, I'm sorry, and that's it. Sometimes you give each other a gift, or you give each other a praise, or you hug each other, you give each other a lei. At the end of a ho'oponopono session, after everything is said and done, they have a small paina where you eat and you share together. But ho'oponopono uses communication to restore balance and harmony. It's part of our ancestors. And it's not just Hawaiians. Native Americans, Japanese, Chinese, they all have this sense of setting things right. If you find you're unclear about something, you need to communicate. You need to say, well, I thought you meant this, but I didn't mean that. I meant, and explain the situation. When you peel those levels of onion skin that has all these different pelikia or problems in it, then you come to resolve to know that you don't have to carry this forever. Ho'oponopono requires open, honest, non-judgmental communication to carefully scrutinize your own motives and the motives of others. And when you see that, then you can let it go. You can talk about it and release it. Sometimes you have to do whatever it takes to make things better, to set the course right. And again, I go back to starting with you. If you're going to do ho'oponopono, which is a very old traditional practice, then you start with you. What was your role? What do you need to ask forgiveness for? I'm sorry I spoke out of line, or I'm sorry I came to the house and asked for things when the family wasn't even ready. And then the other person can say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. No, I said, oh, take whatever you want. And then before you know it, everything's gone. And now we're all hurt and left alone. So ho'oponopono really is about setting the course right,
Yes.
putting things back in the order that the heva or the problems are quelled. We forgive each other. We accept forgiveness. And then you oki it. Then you don't bring it up anymore. You know, I often tell people sometimes when you need to release, you might want to go grab a rock or some item and pour all your hurt in there, pour all the disrespect given to you in there, pour all the heva and the problems and the times when people didn't even hear you because they didn't listen. And then take that rock and throw it in the ocean or throw it off the cliff and say a pule, say a prayer to release that connection to you, to release that discord and let it go.
Yes.
And let it go.
Thank
In
you.
ho'oponopono, there usually is a facilitator. When I was trained, I was called the haku. And you can go on Facebook, on YouTube, and look for Aunty Lynette Paglinawan. She has hours of preaching, talking, and she's a social worker by trade. She's a ho'oponopono practitioner who taught many. And now I learned this back in the 90s, just a little while ago. So it's been around for a really long time, eons before that.
Yes.
But you can take steps to set things right with your siblings, to set things right with your family or your community. And sometimes you have to remember part of ho'oponopono and setting things straight, sometimes you have to release. If they're not going to respect you, if they're not going to honor you, you got to let them go.
Yes.
And the biggest problem, I'll just add this real quick, Faith, is when there's drugs, when there's alcohol or other substance, it's very hard to get somebody to admit to their wrongs. It's very hard to get them to see what was their responsibility. If they cannot respect you to take that part of themselves and take responsibility for their role in the situation, you got to let them go.
Yes.
You got to let them go, and they will have to learn on their own. You forgive yourself for holding on to
Yes.
that problem for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So you can release it and you can move forward in a positive, loving, compassionate manner.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I emphasize the necessity of having your core basics: love, honesty, truth, light, aloha, and gratitude.